These Omix-ADA 6-piece 7-inch fender flares without the hardware are for those of you that have a 1997 to 2006 TJ that are looking to swap out your fender flares for ones that are a factory style, however are going to be wider than the factory to help cover a wider tire and a wheel with a little bit less backspacing. These fender flares are going to install very easily onto your Jeep because they are designed to pretty much be an OEM replacement, again, just being a little bit wider. So there's going to be no drilling, no cutting, definitely a 1 out of 3 wrench install. However, give yourself about 2 hours and even more if your Jeep is rusty, and we'll talk a little bit more about the installation in just a second. So a new set of fender flares is going to do a couple things for your Jeep. Let's start with the functionality. Again, these are going to be wider than your factory. These are going to be a 7-inch flare, so when you're running a wider tire on a wheel with less backspacing, you're still going to get full tire coverage. That's important because in some areas you need it in order to be legal, and even if you don't, this is going to help keep the tires from throwing junk up on the side of the Jeep, which can just make it dirty, scratch it, a variety of different reasons that you might not want that. Now, on top of the functionality of these being a wider flare, they're just going to be a brand new flare. Even the newest TJ is going to be around 11 years old now, and those factory flares can be very faded out, be more gray than they are black, and that can definitely make your Jeep look its age. So by going back to something that is going to be a nice dark black color like these ones are, and something that's going to hold up pretty well over the years, your Jeep is going to be completely transformed and look completely different. Now, as far as a fender flare goes, these ones fall right in the middle of the price range as a lot of the other ones do, so I think this is going to be a pretty good deal for the functionality and the look that you're going to get. These are going to be built very similarly to those factory flares out of a thermoplastic material that have the same finish, again designed to bolt directly in place of those factory flares. The only difference is really going to be that these are going to be wider. In fact, these will even accept your factory turn signals, and because this is a 6-piece kit, they're also going to include the mini flares, so it is really all-inclusive. Now, this kit's also available with the hardware if you choose to go that route. Some of your factory hardware might not be reusable, especially if your Jeep has a lot of rust on it. If that's the case, go with the version that has hardware. It's going to be about $15 more, but if you already have hardware that's in good working order, you can get this kit without it. So like I said before, definitely an easy 1 out of 3 wrench installation to get these bolted onto your Jeep, but do give yourself around 2 hours or more depending on the rust situation, because that can add some install time. Now, the first step in this install is going to be well before you actually get started, and that's going to be spraying all of your hardware with a good penetrating oil, again, especially if you have rust. Those factory fender flares are held onto your Jeep using nutserts that can spin if the bolt freezes inside the nutsert due to rust, so you want to try and eliminate that whenever possible. Now, most of those nutserts you can get to the back side of. You can hold them with a set of vice grips, and you can eventually break things loose, or at the very least, you can cut them off, reinstall new nutserts, put nut and bolt hardware in place, do whatever you need to do to get things attached. But the best case scenario is that you spray everything with penetrating oil and everything breaks loose as it should. So in getting these installed, the first step is going to be removing those factory flares. You'll do that by first removing the turn signal socket from the turn signal housing, unbolting the flare. You'll have to pull the inner fender liner out of the way a little bit, and then get it removed from the Jeep. You can swap the turn signal onto your new fender flare and bolt that flare back up to the Jeep. In the back, of course, you're not going to have the light, but the process is going to be very, very similar. Now, if you do end up having some nutserts spinning, again, you can cut them off, reinstall new ones, use nut and bolt hardware when you can get to the back side of the fender. There are some areas where the nutsert, you cannot get to the back side of it. And if that spins, you are going to have to get a little bit more creative with how you get these installed. In that case, a lot of the time you do have to drill out the nutsert, or at least grind the top off of it, and install a new one. These flares are going to come in at right around $160, which I do think is going to be a pretty good deal. A lot of the other replacement fender flares, whether they're a 7-inch flare or a factory style, factory size flare, are going to be right in and around that price. So I do think this is going to be a nice deal. Again, going to look very similar to a factory flare, just be a little bit wider. So if that's the look you're going for and the functionality that you're after, this is going to be a good buy. So if you want to swap out those factory fender flares on your TJ for a new looking set that's also a little bit wider to give you some better tire coverage, I definitely recommend taking a look at this set from Omix-ADA, and you can find it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.